They play a lot of press man coming in, and did they do what you expected, or did you think that they would do what a lot of teams have done and kind of give you unscouted looks?
They mixed it up a little. I mean, I think they still stuck to their core a little bit. They tried to do a few things to just kind of keep us off balance, but for the most part, they kind of stuck with what their plan was going in.
Do you feel like you kind of countered what they do in terms of man defense well enough, in terms of having man beating routes, pick routes, that kind of stuff?
I think when you look at it, obviously when we reflect back on the game, there's always things you want to try to see if you can do more of and exploit after you play them. And that's kind of the process we went through yesterday as the staff and with the players. But in the moment, just trying to get a feel for what they're doing and how it's coming about, when it's happening, certain coverages. You always look back and say, okay, the next time if we play them again, what are we going to do? So that's kind of what we went through the other day.
Looking at the last two games, is there any one thing in particular that is most frustrating that you guys haven't been able to do or that you really need to fix?
I think like everything, when you look at the situations we have sometimes, when we're on track, we do a pretty good job. And if we get off track a little bit, whether it's a negative play or a penalty, that puts us kind of in a hole. We've had some trouble with that. So, it starts with us as a staff to make sure we're in a good play and we're executing at a high level and we're all detailed up. And then if something happens like a penalty, sometimes those happen. We got to be able to overcome that. So that's kind of been the thing a little bit because we've had opportunities. We just haven't, made the most of them at times. We know we're capable of. The guys are excited about it and then, they feel like we're moving in the right direction. We just got to continue to push through that and explode when we need to.
After review, what are your takeaways of Jalen's performance?
I thought Jalen played well. I mean, it was a difficult kind of game. It was a different kind of game the way it kind of played out. He took care of the ball, and that's a major priority for us, obviously. But he did a good job, and the game kind of went the way it went. The field position was kind of different at times. There was we had two red zone opportunities. I know the short field, we came with a field goal. We needed to do a better job there. And then the other one, we were down in the red zone. We had a negative play and something else, and we kind of got out of it. Then we had to get back in the red zone and kick the field goal. So those two drives right there, you come away with touchdowns, it feels completely different, the whole entire outlook, in the game for the offense. So he did a pretty good job.
We saw quite a few negative plays. How do you balance some of those play calls that might lend themselves to negative plays versus knowing that if you hit them, they'll be big gainers?
Yeah, that's always the gamble a little bit. If you're trying to do something and it doesn't work out, that could happen. When you reflect back on the game, you just got to see what was it. Was it a breakdown by scheme? Was it a breakdown by something they did? And try to correct it to make sure those things don't happen and we can stay on track as best we can.
What makes you and the players feel encouraged that things are heading in the right direction, as you mentioned? And is there a sense of urgency now since it's week 12? To find that consistency?
I think each game has been so different when we go out there and we have found a way to win, and ultimately that's what we're trying to do. So I think that's obviously been the encouraging spot. But ultimately we know, as a staff, we got to do the best we can to put the players in position, and they know they want to do their best as well. So I think collectively we want to do everything we can, to be operating a super high level at all times, but we also know there's going to be moments in the game where it doesn't go that way, and how we overcome that and make the play when we need to, or move the ball when we need to, or score when we need to is really the most important thing.
AJ obviously had a high volume of targets. Was there a concerted effort to get the ball to him, and how did you feel like that impacted the flow of the offense?
Yeah, it was really no different. I think really the plan was pretty much similar to how it was every other game with him, and the ball found him a little bit more, which is great. And he made some critical plays for us when we needed it. Made some really tough catches in traffic, and that's what he's awesome. He's a phenomenal player and did a really good job from that standpoint.
It was your lowest percentage of 11 personnel since you've been here, and it was against a defense that seemed to like to stay in base and was missing some DBs. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, without getting too much into schematics, when people want to play that style of defense, there's some things you have to make sure when you're in 11 personnel that you're kind of covered. So there's some things that you got to be cautious of. That's why sometimes other personnel can benefit you from that standpoint.
What's been your evaluation, though, when you guys have been in 12 in terms of the run blocking from those extra tight ends?
It depends on the scheme. This past week we were able to do some other things and then pull guys and do some different things. So the point of attack blocks were different. And I think just keeping those guys on the move and continue to find new ways to put them in position to block, supplement it with the linemen when we can too, and keep things off balance with play actions. That's kind of what we got to continue to do and just mix it up for them.
It seems like every week you've had a different offensive lineman leaving the game.
Mm-hmm.
How much has that impacted the lack of consistency throughout the season on offense?
I mean, Stout does a great job having all those guys ready. They work extremely hard, and we trust anybody that's out there. But it is different, I guess you could say. It has been a different thing from week to week. We've had different guys kind of in and out of there, but they've all played extremely hard, and they know what to do. And we expect to just kind of keep it going the way it's been going. And whoever's available, we'll roll with. And I know everybody's eager to do what they need to do to help us win.
How would you describe the run game in general on Sunday and Saquon in particular in that game?
I mean, if you look at what it was, we knew it was going to be a very physical game, a lot of guys in the box, that kind of slugfest a little bit at times. And for the most part, if the run efficiency was good, it was a different kind of game in that standpoint. We were able to get him on the edge and on the perimeter. He had some nice runs on the perimeter at times, which was good. So I think when you look at kind of what they were doing defensively going in, we knew what it was going to look like a little bit. And we were able to take advantage of a few things with that, like I said, and kind of get him on the perimeter. So obviously, you always want to try to get more out of it, and when you look at it after and reflect, what else can we do differently to kind of get him out in the space more? And there was a few that were really close, and I think that's what we felt like after the game. I know I talked to a lot of the guys in the locker room, the O-line. They knew it was so close, and even Saquon on a few plays, and that's why we just got to continue to stick with it and find ways to just get him in space and do what we need to do.
I think Bixby has been someone that's always, it seems like he's always provided a spark in the offense. Is that a guy you want to get more touches to as well?
Yeah, when he comes in, I mean, he brings a lot of energy. I think we talked about this a week or two ago, right? So the energy and the juice that he brings is awesome, and he runs extremely hard, and Saquon does a great job of knowing when he needs a break and when he doesn't, and Jamal does an unbelievable job having all those guys ready for anything that's in the plan, and he runs hard, and it's been a really good spark for us.
A lot of guys on the offensive side of the ball have said many times throughout the season the defense has really bailed you guys out or has carried the team. Can that be frustrating sometimes on the offensive side if you feel like you're not the unit that's in control and you have to rely on the defense?
Yeah, I don't know if it's frustrating. I think it's exciting to know that we have a defense that can do that for us, right? And I think the cool part about it is we're playing as a team together. And I think it just goes back to all of us as coaches and players. Everybody wants to contribute. So, you feel like, hey, if I can do more, I want to do more. And I want to express it and show everybody that I can do more to be a part of this. So, they're playing phenomenal on defense right now. And we as an offense have to continue to find ways to do what we need to and, take games over and not just do it in certain spots. We need to do it kind of throughout the whole game.
There was a play in the to AJ in the third quarter down the left sideline. It looked like maybe he slowed up. Is that what you saw? What is the teaching point, if any, on that play?
Yeah, it was a 3rd and long, I believe, right? And he got kind of tangled up with the DB. I'm not so sure he located the ball, wholeheartedly, but we just got to continue to find ways to just connect on those kind of things and work on them in practice. And really throughout the history of it, Jalen and AJ do an unbelievable job of connecting on those kind of things, and we'll continue to throw them to him, because he's going to do his job and get open, and we usually hit them.
There was a play in the second quarter where AJ and Dallas, the ball both went through both of their hands. They were both in the same area of the field. Was that executed how the play is designed with them?
So really what happened on that one was the ball was in the middle of the field, and we got kind of compressed on the way the spacing happened and the way the coverage happened. It was probably one of those plays where it's 1 out of 100 that could ever happen, and it just happened to happen on that one. And it's unfortunate because we had an opportunity to make a huge play on that play. So.
Oh, sorry. The players have talked about the self-inflicted wounds kind of hurting you guys. As a coach, how do you coach out self-inflicted wounds? What's your strategy there, and what have you found in your career helps kind of fix those mistakes?
So I think really even going back to throughout the season and yesterday, that's something we immediately talk about as a whole unit in here as an offense and show them and talk about them and why drives are stalling out. We went through each drive and kind of showed all those self-inflicted things, but it's all of us too, right? It's the coaches, the players. We all have to be on the same page, whether it's a penalty, whether it's an assignment issue, whether it's a detail issue. We know they can't happen, and we know that's what's really getting us right now. So we got to continue to work on those together and really just understand that's where we got to stop those things.
We saw a couple of successful draw plays out of Jalen, but overall the run numbers for him have been down. And you said, I feel like I've been beating this drum, but you said earlier this year that we'll see more of it. Can you give us the thinking about why it just hasn't been as much? Are you guys just saving him, or is this something that you don't think that he does as well as he did in the past.
No, I think he still does a great job. I mean, he's made really good plays for us with his legs when we need him, especially in the last couple of games. And I think if you look at some of the plays, there's a few where it could be him running or him throwing, and it's happened a little more this year where the throws happen more than the run. And I think we'll continue to use that because it is a dynamic part of the offense. When he's running the ball, he does a great job with it.
Fred Johnson, the way he filled in last year, what did that show you? And the fact that you have that experience, how does that cover, I guess, how you plan a game and call a game with him in there?
I think really, the history of Fred is he's going to work extremely hard. He's going to know what to do. He's playing tight end for us, and all of a sudden he's got to play tackle. So there's a lot of confidence in that. I mean, he's a really good player, extremely big person and personality, fun to be around, and he cares. So it's cool to see a guy like that get an opportunity. And like you said, the history of knowing he did it last year and he's done it before, and if he's got to do it again, we know he's going to give it all he has, and he did a really good job Sunday night.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Vic, after that loss to the Giants, the last 4 games, you've held all 4 of your opponents to under 4 yards per carry on the ground. What's been the difference the last 4 games, and then how much has Nakobe factored into that?
Well, I think as a unit, we're just playing it better. Obviously, Nakobe helps. Last 2 weeks, Phillips helps. I think Jalen Carter has really kicked up his game here lately. So it's a combination of a bunch of things.
How much of that has to do with his conditioning from what you've seen with Jalen?
That has something to do with it. Plus, I think he was nursing that hit his shoulder, and then the thing that kept him out of the Giants game. I think it's conditioning improving and health improving.
Nick talked yesterday about how Tom Rathman was the guy in protecting the football for him that really changed things. Is there anybody, how important are takeaways to you, and is there anybody who really influenced you in that regard, teaching it and preaching it?
Yeah, I worked with Tom, too.
Yeah.
Coached against Tom.
But it was, as far as taking the ball away, I think he was...
Yeah, I mean, you get it from everybody. I've always had, everywhere I've been the last, I don't know, at least 20 years, a coach that would lead that charge defensively. And Bobby does that here. Yeah, it's important. Any little tidbit you can get from anybody, tape study, a person, anything helps.
What goes into those 4th down stops as far as your calls and the execution?
Yeah. First off, it was just overall good play by the guys. They executed the calls correctly with good energy and physicalness that you need to stop the couple runs that were run there, and then get tight in coverage. I think it's just good execution, and our guys believe that they can stop a short yardage play.
A couple of the defensive linemen said that you had implemented a tip drill last week leading into that game. What were you seeing on film? What did you pick up on? Why was that implemented?
Yeah, I didn't implement it. Clint did.
Okay.
Yeah, he just had some batted balls, and we thought we could get some.
How many, is that a more pronounced tidbit that works out in a game, and how many of those do you typically carry into a week?
What's that?
Scouting points that end up becoming factors in a game like that.
Well, you always try and identify things you can do that may help you win, that may not be so apparent to everybody. And that was one.
With Nakobe coming back from the injury, were there certain things you were looking for to know that he was back to being himself?
No, just overall. I mean, I know what he looks like when he's right. I think we did the right thing. He could have played that Giants game. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. And he's progressed nicely, both in practice and in the games, and you guys have seen it.
Why are you keeping the rotation there?
Why is what?
Why are you keeping the rotation inside linebacker?
Oh, just because, keep Jihad in there ready to roll because he's the next guy up in the as an ILB. But he's been getting time, too, at OLB. So he'll probably stay similar.
There's a couple of those.
Role of the bye week last year. in back-to-back seasons, you've come out of the bye having allowed more than one touchdown in 2 games. Is there something to that time you have to regroup, or is that coincidence?
Coincidence.
So there was nothing that occurred during the bye this year that you think.
We held no meetings with the players and no practices with the players.
But I imagine you watch the team. And
Oh, yeah. I mean, we do our due diligence,
but that's not the reason.
no, the players are the reason.
One more on Nakobe. Has it surprised you? I mean, he missed almost 9 months. Has it surprised you how quickly he's gotten back to himself?
I know he worked really hard in his rehab. You know, he was bugging those guys in the training room to come back earlier than they allowed him to. So from that regard, no. And the Kobe's got good instincts, good football acumen. Kind of a football, I don't want to say it comes easy, but it comes natural to him. So that speeds it up too.
He had a couple of those pass reps where he carried, Jahmyr Gibbs down the field and was stuck with Jameson Williams. What goes into that? I mean, in terms of recognition and ability.
Yeah, recognition is important, and hopefully that doesn't happen too many more times.
You called Dory Jackson a survivor last week. What'd you make of his play?
I thought he played good. You know, he got beat early for a couple, but hung in there. Made the big third down stop in the second half. And another play that was critical was when we held him in the red zone. That tackle he made on either first or second down to keep it a short game was a big play. So I thought he played well.
In terms of Nolan getting back and the amount of snaps he's playing, is it just to get him back in terms of conditioning, or are you guys still kind of going soft with the triceps?
You have to speak to Tom about that.
So what are the in terms
I don't know.
The snaps though.
What about it?
I mean, he's not playing as much as he was before the injury.
Correct. They have put a snap limitation on him.
Yeah. Okay.
So with Nakobe, he wasn't responsible in those, and he just kind of picked them up. Is that
No.
That
was his job.
Okay.
With Makuba, we talked about his kind of uneven season earlier. Is he finding more consistency?
Yes. You know, and that's a part of us playing better too. You know, he's, early in the year he had some, bad plays that led to big plays for the opponent, and we haven't had that lately.
As a coach, with a young player like that, do you just kind of have to live with that early in a rookie's career?
Yeah. I think I told you guys a story. Bud Grant always used to say, for every rookie you play, add a loss to your win column, the loss to your loss column. I heard another guy say you got to pay taxes on when you play rookies. So, but now it's game 11 coming up. He's not a rookie anymore.
So it's been a few months since you played the Cowboys. Obviously, going into that game, new coordinator, new scheme. Although you've probably seen Sean Hyam before, but are they much different?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the best offenses in the league. I mean, they're like 2 in yards, 2 in points, or 3. First in passing, but yet 12th in rushing. Which they got balance. They're really a good offense, and with those dynamic receivers, the tight end, Javonte at running back, and Prescott makes it go. He's having a hell of a year.
I was reading the comments you made about Jalen Phillips when he played for you in Miami, and it seemed you really felt he was coming on when that injury happened on the Black Friday game. Is there a level to his game now that you're back with him that you kind of pick up where at the point you left off?
When he got hurt in 23?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's close to being back to that spot. I really do.
And beyond that?
Yeah, he's a young player still. He can still get better.
The decision to leave the defense out against the fake punt the other night, I guess, how do you guys handle that on the sideline? Is it a Michael Clay decision? Is it Nick? Is it you? And I guess who makes the call in that situation?
Yeah, Michael makes the call, but it's common that, if we have any inkling that a fake could be coming, we play defense day.
Couple more.
Package getting Michael Carter on the field. What's behind that for those 4th downs?
Nothing. We just wanted to, play 6 DBs on those two situations.
Is he deep enough now into the playbook that if you need to be in those situations more, you feel good with him out there?
Mm-hmm. I do.
All right.
I want to give a shout out to Eastern University, the hottest football team in Philly.
Oh, boy.
They won their league, and they're in the Division III playoffs for the first time.
Not quite Philly.
Oh, Villanova's not Philly?
Well.
They're right next to Villanova.
Easton?
Yeah.
Eastern.
Oh,
Eastern
Oh,
University.
my bad. I thought you were talking about Easton's in the high school state playoffs. My bad.
Rowan got screwed.
Who did?
Rowan. They should be in the D3 playoffs.
Yeah, everybody's got a whine and a bitch.
What's your connection to Eastern?
Katie David, who's Howie's assistant, her husband is on the defensive staff there.
Interesting.
All right, guys.
Oh, man.
Morning, everyone.
Did you get electrocuted?
I did.
Hey, how clutch were those 3 field goals in those conditions from Jake?
Oh, those were, both for him and Jake Bates, tough conditions for the specialists, but, it was awesome. Kind of fortunate that we had a pretty windy day here on Thursday to kind of sense it out what it's going to be. I mean, that's probably the windiest it's been since I've been in Philadelphia, but huge kicks out of Jake. The operation from Cal to Braden with the holes to the field goal pro team was really good. And, that 49-yarder kind of made it a 2-score game that kind of alleviates some of what was going on in a big defensive battle between Detroit. They're a good unit, so all those points matter, especially when you get into these November and December games.
Is there a home field advantage just kind of knowing the way the wind whips around that stadium?
Yeah, you would like to say that, but, sometimes you get a gust, sometimes you don't get a gust. The great thing about it, both teams got to play in it, which is awesome. But these guys, Jake, Braden, and Cal, and Charlie, when he's up, they do such a good job of getting themselves prepared for all these different scenarios. Understand we play in the Northeast that you are going to have some conditions where aren't favorable for the specialist group, but to rise up to the challenge and do what they did was very good for us on the team.
And they went over to the stadium on Thursday?
Well, what had happened was we were just out here. They were trying to sneak in there, but, obviously, new sod and the paint and everything, we weren't really able to get out there. But, being able to play in some conditions from last year, then being here on the practice field just to feel the wind always helps us out.
The fake punt stop, what had you on alert there?
Yeah, I think it just goes a lot to the advanced scouting. Amina, I believe, was on the road down to Washington, alerted us. Terrence does a good job debriefing us on Mondays, the amount of fakes that Detroit had ran since 2021. I think it was at 12 at that point. Then just having kind of a sense what the game was going back and forth, kind of a defensive struggle. You always got to be prepared for that. Then on Friday, I usually get the entire team in here and just to reiterate, hey, they've ran this amount of fakes, not just at the midfield, but they ran them from, the -21, the -22, and I thought it was an awesome job by Morrow. JC, Jalix really kind of collapsing that pocket in right there on that fake punt, and obviously a short field for offense, which is always great. So, kudos to, all the intel we get prior to the game, then the guys paying attention come Friday, then just understanding the severity of the game.
What did it mean to alert you to?
Just obviously FIP had ran a wide amount of fakes. So it's more of just understanding that they're willing to gamble at any point in the field position, whether it's -20 at the midfield line, and just kind of having an inkling like, hey, they're not really moving the ball on our defense. They're going to try and steal possession. So just having that and just reiterating throughout the week to our players like, hey, they will gamble and try to get a free possession right here, and the players answer the bell. And again, I can say it till I'm blue in the face that they're going to try and run a fake. The players out there do an unbelievable job of executing when that time comes, because obviously I'm not doing anything on the field on game day because it can't be between the white lines. So the players get all the credit because they're able to respond to anything that they see or make a big play.
They ran it anyway, even though you had the defense out on the field?
As the NFL, you could expect anything, expect the unexpected. So I wasn't really too shocked that they did run it. Because again, some guys are take a play off when it is D-State. Our guys don't. So for them to still try to run it, kudos to them trying to steal that extra possession. But we were able to respond and stop them in their territory.
It sounds like the advanced scouting was a big part of it, but is there any element of like the familiarity that both you and the organization has with FIP that kind of plays into that too?
I think it just goes down to your scouting and what you do throughout the week. You always go back if there is a team that does, a lot of fakes. A la when we used to play Dallas and Bonesy was there. He ran 1,000 fakes when he was with the Rams. So you always just go back and you always know that's on your mind that they can try to steal possession. So it's not just a one-man job. It's a whole organizational job to get us in the right spots.
Was it win the factor in the landing zone kicks? Because it seemed like more were going into the end zone than usual.
You know what? To be honest with you, when we were kicking into that open tunnel, we didn't think the ball was going to travel that far, especially coming out the half. It kind of perplexed Jake, as you probably saw his body reaction right there. But it really didn't have too much because, these kickers are so strong and so skilled that we were still able to place it where we wanted it to based on our game plan. And I thought our kickoff coverage did a really good job against a pretty dangerous returner in Khalif Raymond when, the ball did land in between the landing zone. And, kudos to those guys answering the bell against a really good returner.
It's a related question because we didn't speak to you last week. But if you think about your coaching, what role does FIP have in that in terms of how you operate, how you view special teams?
Yeah, FIP was the first special teams coordinator I was able to work under and, to learn a lot from him, the 1 year that I was his assistant, just seeing how he operates from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way through till game time to getting yourself prepared for all that. I owe a lot to him and all the coordinators that I work for, Richard Hightower, Darius Swinton, things, Stan Kwan, all those guys that I worked for. FIP was the first guy to kind of, take me under his wing and kind of show me how special teams is broken down, tendencies, things like that. So I owe a lot to FIP. And, anytime I'm able to go against guys that I hold in high regard and be able to step up to the challenge or be on their level in terms of coaching, it's just an honor and just a blessing really to go against a guy like that.
We saw Cam Latu make a nice play on that first kick return. What makes him a good special teams player?
I think a lot of it has to do with the belief in Cam, kind of a journeyman a little bit early on in his career, but having the opportunity and he's risen to the occasion. But, you get a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", 260 that could run, move, bend like that and have the want to go know that he can go make a play for us and, help our team out. A lot of, special teams comes down to want to and energy. And I think he brings a lot of that, and not just him. You see Sidney out there. You see Kylan Grants and Will Shipley, when they make plays, they get excited. And I want them to be excited because that third phase is a huge, it's a huge task to help out the team in the field position battle. So I think Cam has done an unbelievable job of rising to the occasion, and he's so intent. I think he sits right there in that back corner, and he asks questions, who he's blocking, who's going to try and block him, and he's trying to work after practice. What can I do better? And that's the cool thing about it. He always asks, hey, what can I do better? What can I do better? So it's one of those things where he really wants to be a very good special teams player and just a good teammate all around.
After 3 games, what has Xavier Gibson brought in terms of punt return?
Yeah, obviously Xavier had some reps, with the Jets. He brings some explosiveness. Obviously, you saw in the Green Bay game, catching that ball and getting a 21-yard return. And even, that last punt or second to last punt return, people might think, he was just heady enough that he didn't know if it hit Sidney or not or hit him, but him able to bat it out of bounds to at least save us a possession. That brings some intelligence to the field in a high pressure situation, to stay calm and just kind of bat it out, then be able to play the next play. And he's so intent on wanting to give the ball back to the offense and still the ball security. We do a ball security drill, myself, and Jamal Singleton every day with him after practice. He wants to do so well for the team and give us a little spark. So he's done a really good job in the last 3 games that we've had him.
Between the Rams game and this one, we know of 2 examples of starting defensive linemen being tuned in to the special teams sort of suggestions in the week and then executing them. What goes into that, both the message that's being delivered and the fact that some of these starting players are receiving them and executing?
Yeah, when it comes down to that, me personally as a coaching is try to make it as clear as possible and give them a rail like, hey, I could change the game in some sort of capacity, whether it's a field goal block, a pump block with Cam in Tampa Bay, or that big play by Morrow. It's just showing them the picture of like, hey, there is this tendency or this is somewhere where we can attack and exploit, no different than offense or defense finding a weak spot in the coverage or a weak spot in the protection. It's the same as for special teams. We're just trying to find any ways we could get an advantage, and it's all the accolades should go to the players because they're the ones performing it, and it's just one of those things where if you could get something where it clicks in their mind that they can make a play in this situation, all power to them.
Considering the new balls, how deep do you think Aubrey can kick it out from home? What are you anticipating?
I wouldn't be shocked if he trotted out there for a 70-plus yarder. He's a damn good kicker. He's been doing a really good job this year. So we just got to be ready to be able to go out there and defend a long field goal. You have a kicker like that, by all means, use him as a weapon.
We saw Cal get down the field and make a couple tackles. Is that kind of a bonus to have a long snapper be able to do that?
Yeah, you're always, having a long snapper that can protect and get down the field is always a bonus right there because now they got to account for everyone. They can't just account for 9; they got to account for 10 in terms of that. So Cal has done a really good job stepping in while Charlie's getting back to getting healthy out here in protection and field goal snaps and getting down and making some plays. And when we showed him making a couple plays, the other players, they get little oohs and ahs for him to go make a play. So it's just it's always an added luxury when you have a long snapper to go out there and make a play against a really good returner.
All right. Thanks, folks.